All right, so you've got that big presentation coming up. You really need to inspire your team, and we're going to help you nail it. Today, we are diving deep all about motivation. But we're not just talking about your typical business books. We've got psychology, a little bit of history, even some art in the mix. You ready?
Absolutely. It's kind of amazing how much conventional wisdom gets motivation wrong. We're going to unpack some surprising findings today.
Perfect. So let's just start with that classic carrot and stick approach. Motivation 2.0. I think we've all heard of the candle problem experiment. What I find fascinating is how those people who were offered a reward to solve it quickly actually ended up taking longer. They were so focused on that reward, they missed the creative solution. For someone like you, what's the takeaway there when you're trying to motivate a team?
It's a great illustration of how sometimes just dangling that reward in front of people, it can actually narrow our focus and hinder creative problem solving. If you're looking for your team to come up with innovative ideas for your presentation, maybe focusing solely on bonuses isn't going to be the best way.
That makes total sense. And it reminds me of that study on blood donations where paying people actually reduced the blood supply.
Ah, yes, Richard Titmus's work. It seems so counterintuitive. But when you introduce money, it kind of shifted people's motivation from altruism to self-interest. And that led to fewer donations. So sometimes appealing to people's better nature, their desire to actually contribute, can be more effective than just financial incentives.
I hadn't thought about it like that. So instead of just thinking, how do I incentivize my team?
Yeah,
It's more about how do I tap into their desire to contribute to something meaningful.
exactly. And that leads us to Motivation 3.0. It's all about intrinsic motivation, those natural drives that we all have, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So instead of relying on external pressure, it's about creating an environment where people are motivated from within.
Okay, so I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about this Motivation 3.0. What are some examples of companies that are putting this into practice?
Well, one great example is Atlassian, the software company. They have something called FedEx Days. And what this is employees get 24 hours to work on any problem that they want, as long as they can deliver something by the end of the day. Hence the name FedEx.
So it's kind of like this burst of focused creativity. I bet people really get into that.
Oh, they do. And some of Atlassian's most successful products actually were born out of these FedEx Days. Then you have Google, with their famous 20% time, where employees can dedicate a fifth of their work time to independent projects. And it's no coincidence that something like Gmail came out of that initiative.
So giving people that autonomy over their work, not only can it boost motivation, but it can lead to some pretty groundbreaking results. So thinking about your presentation, could you adapt something like this? Could you give your team a FedEx day to brainstorm ideas?
It's definitely something to consider. Even if you can't dedicate a full day, carve out some time for them to explore their own ideas. Even small changes to kind of foster that autonomy can
Okay.
make a big difference in their motivation and the quality of their work.
I love that. Now, what about mastery? I know that's another big piece of Motivation 3.0. It feels good to get better at things. But is there more to it than that?
There is. It's about growth and progress,
Mhm.
pushing your own boundaries. And it's deeply tied to well-being. You know those moments when you're so engrossed in an activity that time seems to fly by?
Oh, yeah. Been there.
That's flow, a term that was coined by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Oh, flow. I've definitely experienced flow before. It's like being in the zone, totally focused and energized.
Exactly. And his research shows that we experience flow when we tackle tasks that are challenging, but not overwhelmingly so. He called these Goldilocks tasks. Not too easy, not too hard, just right.
Yeah, that makes sense. We need that sweet spot between boredom and frustration. But how do we create Goldilocks tasks for a whole team, especially for something like a presentation?
Well, it involves understanding your team's skills, providing them with challenges that stretch their abilities,
Yeah.
but without overwhelming them. It also ties into Carol Dweck's research on mindsets. People who believe that intelligence is fixed often limit themselves, but those who believe it can be developed. Achieve more.
So that's a big takeaway for me. I need to help my team believe they can actually tackle this presentation, master the skills involved, and actually grow in the process. Instead of just presenting the information, I should be encouraging them to see this as an opportunity to develop.
You're getting it. Now, are you ready to explore the third element of Motivation 3.0, the one that really gets to the heart of why we do what we do?
You bet.
Purpose. We'll dig into that next. It's that feeling of connecting your work to something larger than yourself, something meaningful. That makes a difference. And it's a really powerful motivator.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. Like, we all want to feel like our work actually matters, that we're contributing to something bigger.
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling good either. There's real science behind this. Studies have shown that people who actually prioritize what they call purpose goals, like making a positive impact, they report higher levels of happiness and well-being than those who are chasing those external rewards like money or status.
That makes a lot of sense. I've even seen that in my own life. You know, chasing that external validation never seems to bring that lasting satisfaction.
It's a trap we all kind of fall into. Even Csikszentmihalyi Mahali,
Hmm.
the flow researcher, his life is a testament to that power of purpose. He escaped wartime Europe and dedicated his life to understanding what makes life meaningful. Talk about aligning your work with a bigger purpose.
That's pretty inspiring, how he turned his personal experiences into something that's helped so many people find more fulfillment in their lives.
So how can we bring this idea of purpose into your presentation? It's not about saving the world, it's about motivating your team.
Right. But maybe there's a way to connect it to a larger purpose within the company. Like, it's not just about hitting those targets, but how achieving those targets contributes to the company's mission, or even maybe how it has a positive impact on your customers.
Now you're thinking like a Motivation 3.0 leader. Even seemingly mundane tasks can become more meaningful when we understand how they connect to a bigger picture.
Okay, this is giving me so many ideas. I need to figure out how to frame this presentation so my team understands the importance of it and how their hard work will contribute to something they actually care about. But I am wondering about the role of rewards. We've talked about how those if-then rewards can be demotivating. But what about giving rewards after a job well done?
You're talking about now that's rewards. And those can be quite effective when used appropriately. They're given as a surprise after a task is completed, just to acknowledge a job well done. Think of it as like a bonus or a celebration, not as a bribe.
So if my team delivers this killer presentation, I could surprise them with a team lunch or something, just to show my appreciation. It wouldn't be about manipulating their behavior beforehand, but acknowledging their effort and achievement. That feels a lot more genuine.
Exactly. It's about celebrating that success together, not dangling a carrot to force a specific outcome. Now, that rewards can actually reinforce those feelings of autonomy and mastery that we've been talking about. But remember, they should be used sparingly and authentically.
Got it. So we've covered autonomy, mastery, and purpose, the three pillars of Motivation 3.0. This seems like a much more sustainable and fulfilling approach to motivation than the traditional carrot and stick method.
It is. But it's also important to remember that people are different. What motivates one person might not motivate another. This is where understanding different motivational styles can be really helpful. Have you ever heard of Douglas McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y?
Vaguely. Remind me.
Well, Theory X managers believe that people are inherently lazy and need to be controlled and incentivized. But Theory Y managers believe that people are naturally curious and self-directed, given the right environment. Motivation 3.0 definitely aligns more with that Theory Y. So it's not about forcing people to be motivated, but creating that culture where they want to contribute, where they feel valued and trusted. That's a big shift from that command and control style of management that we see so often.
It is. And it might feel daunting to implement such a radical change, but there are some practical steps you can take to kind of move in the right direction. Remember those 9 strategies for awakening motivation that we discussed?
Oh yeah, things like the flow tests,
Yeah,
taking a SAGmeister, those DIY report cards. There were some really interesting ideas in there.
exactly. So you can start by introducing Goldilocks tasks for your team, giving them more autonomy on projects, or even encouraging them to take a SAGmeister. That sabbatical to pursue their passions and return recharged. I love that. It's about taking those concepts we've been talking about and putting them into action. What really stood out to me were those DIY report cards. Instead of grades being a reward or punishment, they become a tool for self-reflection and growth.
It's a brilliant way to shift the focus from external validation to self-evaluation, which is essential for fostering that growth mindset. Remember, we want to cultivate that belief that intelligence and abilities can be developed.
And I'm also intrigued by the idea of 20% time. Imagine the innovation and creativity that could be unleashed if everyone in the company had dedicated time to work on projects they're passionate about.
And it sends a powerful message of trust and empowerment. You're essentially saying, I believe in you, and I trust you to use your time wisely to contribute in meaningful ways.
This deep dive has been a game changer. The idea of moving away from if-then rewards to now-that rewards is huge. And I'm really inspired to create a more autonomy-supportive environment for my team. I want them to feel empowered and challenged and connected to a larger purpose.
That's fantastic. But we've been talking a lot about cultivating intrinsic motivation. What about those people who are more extrinsically motivated? The ones who are driven primarily by those external rewards? Can they change?
That's a great question. I have a few people on my team who definitely seem more motivated by those external factors. Can they learn to be more intrinsically motivated?
Absolutely. Remember,
Yeah.
type I behavior, that intrinsic motivation, it's made, not born, with effort, awareness, and a supportive environment. Anyone can learn to tap into their inner drives.
Yeah, so instead of asking, how do I motivate my team? Maybe the better question is, how can I create an environment where my team can actually thrive?
It is. It really shifts that focus from manipulation to empowerment,
Mhm.
which is at the heart of Motivation 3.0. And it's not just about the psychological environment either. It's also about the physical one.
Oh, that's true. Our surroundings definitely play a role in how we feel and how we work.
Mhm.
Think about, those dreary cubicles with the fluorescent lighting and the constant interruptions. Not exactly inspiring, are they?
Not at all. But a workspace with natural light, comfortable seating, spaces for collaboration, that can make a huge difference. It's about creating a space that fosters creativity and focus and a sense of community.
Right, like those open source software companies that we talked about. They often have those flexible workspaces, remote work options, and a culture that encourages that collaboration and innovation. And they're doing some pretty amazing things.
Exactly. They've created environments that naturally support autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And their success is a testament to the power of creating a workplace that aligns with those intrinsic motivators.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm not even just thinking about this presentation anymore. I'm thinking about how I lead my team in general. I really want to create a space where they feel valued and challenged and connected to a larger purpose.
That's great to hear. And remember, you don't have to make drastic changes overnight. Start with small steps. Try introducing a modified version of FedEx Days. Maybe experiment with those DIY report cards. Or encourage your team to take a Sagmeister. Recharge and pursue their passions.
Those are really great ideas. It's about making those small, intentional changes that can have a ripple effect on motivation and well-being, both for ourselves and our teams.
And don't underestimate the power of just asking your team what they need to feel more motivated and engaged. You might be surprised by their insights.
I love that. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. This has been incredible. I have a whole new framework for understanding motivation, and I'm so excited to start putting these ideas into action.
Well, it's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you. And remember, Motivation 3.0 is about moving beyond those external rewards and punishments and tapping into that wellspring of intrinsic motivation that exists within each of us.
It's about creating a world where work isn't just a means to an end, but a source of fulfillment and growth and meaning. So instead of asking, how do I motivate my team? Ask yourself, how can I create an environment where my team can truly thrive? That shift in perspective might just be the key to unlocking their full potential. And yours as well.
Beautifully said. Keep asking those important questions.
I will. Until next time, keep diving deep.